Welcome to Mind and Soul Matters. I'm Farah Feeney. Through conversations with everyday people, Mind and Soul Matters, a Baha'i-inspired podcast, aims to broaden our understanding of mental health and spirituality, and to deepen our insights into the challenges and meaning of our lives. In our introductory episode, I'm joined by Mahsa Anderson, a counselling psychologist and one of the instigators of Mind and Soul Matters. Our chat today is a little different to future episodes where guests will be interviewed on different topics related to mental health and spirituality. Today, I'm really excited to be here with Mahsa, and together we'll explore what we mean by spirituality and what is mental health. And we'll also touch on the concept of happiness. Welcome, Mahsa. It's really exciting to be here with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's so good to be here.
Mahsa, you were instrumental in the birth of Mind and Soul Matters. Let's begin with how it all started.
Wow. That's a good question. A few roads merged together, I guess, for this to come to being. We were having a meeting with yourself there around the mental health issues and concerns, and I love listening to podcasts. So it was kind of like, how do we merge mental health, spirituality to a wider audience? And I know how much I enjoy listening to different podcasts, and so that idea just kind of came to me, and I made a suggestion. And I don't know about me being instrumental, because you've really been the one driving it and really putting everything into place. You and obviously some of the other lovely people involved in this. It's been a teamwork, but you've really been instrumental as well. So yeah, that's I guess how it started.
You know, mental health and mental illness is such an issue for society, and particularly since COVID, but I think even prior to COVID. And being in the mental health profession, as you are and I am, as a clinical psychologist, I think it's something that we can hopefully contribute to. What are your thoughts on the aspect of spirituality? Because this is really about mind and soul matters.
Yeah.
It's about mental health and spirituality.
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, since we've been kind of planning this podcast, I've been giving it a bit more thought. Really, to me, spirituality is, it's very hard to describe it in a cognitive sense, because it feels very much like an embodied experience, an experience that we have connecting in with our own soul. And that's really hard to put into a cognitive, language-based experience. But it's this, I guess, to me, it's this understanding or reconnecting with the fact that we are more than just this physical being, that there is this spiritual aspect to us, this higher consciousness, I guess, in all of us as human beings. And that we can connect to that, and that we can act from that platform, from that stance, that spiritual stance, which includes things like love, compassion, understanding, justice. You know, we can all be people who act from that higher purpose.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to think of that concept of spirituality. And I looked up what is spirituality. It's a broad concept. In general, it includes a sense of connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Oh, there you go.
And it typically involves a search for meaning in life. It is a universal human experience, something that touches us all.
Yeah, right. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it really embraces, if someone has faith or in a particular religion, I think it definitely embraces that. And it embraces more than that too, because I know in society, sometimes in Western culture, because people kind of can think of spirituality and God meaning the same thing.
Yes.
And if they've had some previous experiences or prejudices to that word, the G word, God, they can quite quickly shut down.
Yes.
But this is about spirituality in a broad context.
Yeah.
And as Google has defined it, it is something that touches us all. And the other thing I was thinking also is the word psychology. And the word psychology is a Greek word that comes from two words, one being soul and the other study of.
Yes.
Now, it depends where you look at the definition, but sometimes it's soul, sometimes it's mind, but it is study of the soul.
Yeah.
In general, I feel psychology has in some ways lost that connection with soul and spirituality. So I think I'm hoping that with the conversations that we have, that we can firstly remove stigma, raise awareness of mental health, have conversations where people can be inspired in certain ways, have practical strategies even, but also to incorporate that deeper sense of spirituality and bring the two back together again. It reminds me of another writing from the Baha'i faith where it says man is in reality a spiritual being.
Yes.
And only when he lives in the spirit is he truly happy. And let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah.
Man is in reality a spiritual being. What's your take on that?
Well, I think what it's maybe saying is what I was kind of alluding to before, is that we are more than our physical being. We are more than our skin and bone and blood. Yes, we are. That's our physical expression of a more spiritual reality. So in reality, and I think Deepak Chopra once said, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience while we're going through this life. And I think that's kind of what that quote means to me, that we are truly, our true essence is actually a spiritual being. We are having physical experiences with physical limitations and ailments and what have you. But in reality, we are a spiritual being, and only when we live according to that reality are we truly happy, are we truly fulfilled and connected with our true self. That's what that quote means to me.
Yeah, and it does bring back that concept of spirituality in that, it could mean, well, if we even go back to that definition, it can be it's about love and generosity and forgiveness. When we're living with those spiritual qualities at the center of our life, that is when we are living in the spirit. And I mean, it's not always easy, but it is about that everyday trying little by little to live with those at the center of our life, those spiritual qualities, that we are truly happy. And I thought that's another interesting, what's truly happy? Because it is our goal in life to be happy. And I feel that word happy has almost, we try to chase certain things to be happy. As parents, we want our children to be happy. What's your take on that concept of happiness?
Yeah, I think happiness in the world that we're living in right now, with all of the forces of society upon us, happiness has lost its true meaning, maybe. But we're told that if we have this latest gadget or this latest device, or if we have this particular fashion, that we would be happy. And I think that what that quote is saying is that when we live true to our own values and our own spirit, we are truly happy. Now, how that connects to mental health is interesting as well. Like, how is this related to then people's mental health and well-being?
How do you see the connection?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I guess mental health is around being able to be functioning at an optimum level of being being able to problem solve and be creative and function in a society and deal with day-to-day issues and dramas, and without feeling like being overwhelmed, and not being able to face sort of certain obstacles of life or what have you. So I see mental health and well-being as, I guess, being truly, in the true sense of the word, is being happy, being able to be dealing with day-to-day life and challenges. When someone, I guess, is diagnosed with a mental health challenge, say depression or anxiety, then that's, I guess, the different, I don't know, that's a whole new other
kettle of fish.
Kettle of fish, exactly. And how does spirituality impact that? Does it have a role?
I think that's spot on, because also I think of mental health and mental well-being and mental illness as a continuum.
Mm-hmm.
So at one end of the spectrum is where we are, and I am quite reluctant to use the word happy because of the way society looks at happy. But I like the way you put the emphasis on truly happy, because that truly happy is when we are content and at peace and have that inner joy and radiance.
Yes.
That is, to me, true happiness, which that quote we were talking about is that's my understanding of it. So at that one end of the spectrum is that where we are truly happy, we are content, at peace, we are contributing positively to our communities, we have a very fulfilled life.
Yes.
In a spiritual sense, we have love and compassion.
Connection.
Exactly, connection. And then, we all kind of go along this continuum where we might have days where we feel sad, down, worried, anxious. And that is that moderate level where we all, I think, from time to time experience that.
Yes.
And that is where sometimes feeling spiritually connected can help us move to that more fulfilled end of the spectrum.
Yes.
But then at the other end of the spectrum, where that's where the diagnosed, where there's the more severe mental illness conditions like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, those kind of disorders where it's not because of lack of spiritual connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very well put. Like the way you put that as spectrum, like in terms of we all feel those days that we feel down or sad or anxious. I know I tend to get very anxious about things. We all experience those things, but it's that where are we at any given day on that spectrum is really a good way of looking. I think what you're also saying is that spirituality is available to us at all times, no matter how unwell we can be or well we are able to connect to that higher self at all times. Yes, sometimes we might find that a little bit more harder than other days, but that is regardless of our state of mental well-being, we have access to that inner or higher being or peace or so I think that's important as well, that our access is never completely shut out. It might feel like that sometimes, but that higher state is available to us at all times, regardless of our physical ailments as well as maybe our emotional and mental ailments.
Yeah, definitely. Something to definitely think about. And to, when if I can take it back to that spectrum, definitely that we can always try to connect with that spiritual side, whatever that might mean for us individually. And then to know that when it is that more severe end of the spectrum, that there is, the importance of connecting with professional help, to be open to. So this is about hopefully having conversations where it opens our heart to everything, opens our heart to whatever spirituality means to us. It's being open to professional help. It's being open to medication if that's what's prescribed and required. So it's hopefully having conversations that open our heart and our mind and our soul.
I'm looking forward to who will come on this podcast, actually. Speaking of this being the very first one, this feels like the first step towards a wonderful journey.
Yeah.
And I look forward to having, as you say, all different aspects of these two things coming together, the spirituality and what that means, and mental health and well-being and what that looks like coming together. So
yeah, I'm very excited too.
Yeah.
I think it's something, mind and soul, is that something that we all have. We all have a mind and we all have a soul, whatever way we think of that.
We conceptualize it, yes.
Exactly, however we conceptualize it.
So, no, I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you, Farnaz.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much, Mahsa. If you've enjoyed today's episode, remember to click on subscribe on your preferred podcast app and share with friends. For any comments or feedback, please email mindandsoulmatters@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. If today's episode has raised any concerns for you, please contact your local mental health service. And for our listeners in Australia, please call Lifeline on 13 11 14.
Join me next month as I speak to Dr. Jasmine Bell on the impact of COVID-19 on our mental health and what role spirituality might play in getting us through this global pandemic. I look forward to your company then on Mind and Soul Matters.